Rep. Ed Propst, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to reference House Communication 21-104, the letter of correspondence from Mr. Troy Torres on Governor Ralph Deleon Guerrero Torres' financial reimbursements. Mr. Speaker, this communication letter from Representative Tina Sablon, I would like to point out and remind all of our colleagues that she wasn't the only representative to receive this letter. In fact, it was sent to each and every member in the House and in the Senate. We all received a copy of it from Mr. Troy Torres. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, the documents that were attached to this were concerning, and we cannot turn a blind eye to it. We all looked at it, we all discussed it privately, and we've said many things in confidence with each other. But it is our constituents who continue to come up to us and question us and ask each and every one of us, why are we not commenting on these questionable reimbursements and questionable first-class travel, among other things? These documents have been widely circulated, and constituents have asked, again, each and every one of us to comment about it, to speak to it. We had somebody earlier make public comments, a constituent. So how long are we going to continue to ignore that proverbial elephant in the room? With that said, Mr. Speaker, the House minority members have met several times to discuss what actions should take place. Now, we are a small minority, there's only 6 of us, but we do have different thoughts and opinions. But one of the things that we wanted to ensure was that we had a unified position and a unified statement that would come from each and every one of us, that would be approved by each and every one of us. And that's not always easy. Mr. Speaker, together, while working on this for several hours, we put together a unified statement and letter to you requesting for the appointment of a special investigative committee. Mr. Speaker, I beg your indulgence if you would give me a very short time to read and submit this brief letter to you, if that's okay. Thank you. Dear Speaker Attao, we, the members of the House minority, formally request that you appoint a special committee to investigate allegations of public corruption, fraud, waste, and abuse of public funds by Governor Ralph Deleon Guerrero Torres. According to the 21st House of Representatives Rules of Procedure, Rule 7, Section 1, special committees may be established by the Speaker as required to conduct investigations, consider and report on such special or temporary matters as are referred to them. A special committee may conduct hearings, summon and examine witnesses, and compel the submission of documents and records. A special committee must also submit a written report of findings and recommendations to the Speaker within 60 days of appointment, unless a shorter or longer time is ordered by the Speaker. We assert that the legislature has a solemn constitutional duty to investigate the allegations and records that have been circulated throughout our community, submitted to the members of the legislature, and covered by local and regional media. Enclosed with this letter that we will be submitting is a sampling of these records, which includes a federal search warrant, a receipt for property seized by the FBI, a grand jury subpoena, and government records related to travel, official representation, and reimbursements by Governor Torres. The recent FBI raids on the home and office of the governor and his associates, and the revelations of lavish and questionable expenses charged by the governor to the people of the Commonwealth have severely eroded public trust and the integrity of our government. We cannot and must not turn a blind eye. We, the members of the House minority, are fully committed to working with you and our colleagues in the House to ensure fairness, transparency, due diligence, and accountability in any special committee and inquiry going forward. We urge that the special committee enlist the Office of the Public Auditor and other experts and analysts as needed to examine records and witnesses. We further call for civility and decorum and an investigation that is based on facts and evidence. Governor Torres, like all citizens of our country and Commonwealth, deserves due process, the benefit of the doubt, and an opportunity to answer for himself to this legislative body and the people we represent. Mr. Speaker, we stand ready to work with you to begin the inquiry that our constituents demand and deserve. Respectfully, Ed Propst, Cristina Sablan, Ed Villagomez, Sheila Babalta, Richard Lizama, Donald Manglonia.
Thank you, Rep. Propst. Further discussion under House Communications. Rep. Tina Sablan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. The minority is calling for the appointment of a special committee to investigate Governor Torres because we are facing matters of grave and constitutional urgency. The governor and his associates are subjects of a federal criminal investigation involving money laundering, fraud, and illegal campaign contributions. And now we have records documenting the governor's illegal first-class travel and extravagant expenses paid by the people of the Commonwealth. Today, the minority is also filing an Open Government Act request seeking all records relevant to his travel, official representation, housing allowances, executive security and chauffeuring services, and reimbursements, including the policies that determine whether or not the people of the Commonwealth should be paying for all of this. The governor is accused of betraying the people's trust. If we do nothing, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, we will also be complicit in betrayal. Of course, we all respect the criminal legal process now underway. But we must also respect the public office we hold and our own process for conducting legislative investigations and holding the governor accountable. A formal inquiry is our process, and we should expect the governor to respect that process as well, to fully cooperate with our investigations and to answer to this body for his actions. This week, colleagues, we celebrate CNMI Constitution Day. And on this occasion, we honor the wisdom of our founders who established a system of government in the Marianas that is based on checks and balances among three co-equal branches of government. In the words of retired Chief Justice Jose de la Cruz, CNMI self-government will only be as good as the individuals we elect into public office. When there are breaches of the Constitution or the laws of the Commonwealth committed by public officials in one branch of government, our democracy depends on the other branches to provide accountability and restore balance. Let's do our jobs. Establish the special committee, begin the inquiry, empower the committee to do its work professionally, objectively, and fairly, and report back to this body on its findings and recommendations for action. Mr. Speaker and colleagues, we are facing a critical dilemma in this legislature. And the question is, which side of history will we choose to be on? Let's choose the side of the people we were elected to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Tina Sablan. Any further under House Communication? Rep. Manglonia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just to add on to that, while I understand that one is presumed innocent until proven guilty, it is our duty as elected officials to investigate any alleged wrongdoings by any officials, even if it's one of you. We need our people to trust in our government, and in order for us to gain their trust, we must take the necessary steps in ensuring that what our constituents come forward with will be something that we should investigate. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Manglonia. Any further under House Communications? Oh, Floor Leader? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We heard a lot from our minority bloc and their appeal for an investigation and for you, Mr. Speaker, to create that special committee. They repeatedly mentioned in their statement that this is an allegation, this is an accusation. We cannot operate here as a body with accusations. I understand that there are communications of receipts, but it is my belief and my understanding also that the Office of Public and Auditor had already requested an Open Government Act. We should allow the expert entities to conduct this investigation of the financials of the expenditures of our governor. But to just create a special committee based on accusations and assumptions, I don't think it's rightfully right. So with all due respect with our colleagues in the minority bloc, let's respect the process. Rep. Tina had mentioned that there is a federal criminal investigation. We ought to respect that process. I understand, members, that we're in the dark, but we cannot operate in the dark as well. We have to make sure that there are vital documents that we can use so that we can do our work and further this investigation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Floor Leader. Rep. Villagomez, please.
Well, my statement would have been better before the floor leader, but I just, want to add on to what the minority leader and Rep. Tina and Rep. Donald mentioned is, trust in government is important. We need to represent the people the best we can. We should never forget that they are our boss. So when a big issue comes up, whether online or on the ground, that they demand that we look into, I think we really should, and represent them the best way possible. And in regards to the floor leader, we're a separate branch. Maybe we can help them with that investigation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Villagomez. Rep. Propst, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues, and our floor leader. It's always good to have deliberation and debate and discussion, and we applaud that because that's why we're here. And I do appreciate that. I do want to mention that there has been a lot said. People have questioned why the local media hasn't really covered it, and I've been told because we don't respond to tabloid journalism. But even if you don't subscribe to that and you don't agree with their opinions or whatever, the documents that have come out, however they got that source, was concerning. And one of the things that I did want to look up is first class travel. May I just ask a question to my colleagues? And please feel free to answer it. If you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. Do any of you fly first class? Paid for by taxpayers? Without an upgrade, without your personal money, but do you use taxpayer dollars to fly first class? It's a fair question. Mr. Speaker, may I submit this to our council for question? Council, I wanted to ask, this is what I'm showing our council is Title I Government Division 7 Planning, Budgeting, and Auditing under Section 7407, Restrictions on Government Paid Travel Outside of the Commonwealth. If I may, on letter F, I'll read it. It says, it says airfare restriction. The Commonwealth government shall not purchase or furnish for or reimburse to any employee, contractor, board member, or other person required to travel on behalf of the government, its departments, divisions, agencies, and autonomous agencies, an airline ticket for travel in first class, business class, or any other premium class designation. Travel agents issuing tickets for government travel shall only be paid at the regular economy fare or its equivalent. Any government employee who causes an airline ticket to be issued in violation of this section shall pay a civil fine of $1,000. Council, I would like to know, based on this law of ours, if we elected officials are allowed to fly first class.
Council, please.
As you stated your question, you can fly first class if you pay for the upgrade, but you cannot have the taxpayers pay for the first class ticket. So to answer your question, you can fly first class on personal dime at personal expense, but for the taxpayers to incur the first class ticket per this statute, I would agree with the substance of your question, which is, can the taxpayer pay for a first class ticket? The answer is no. Whether or not the official upgrades or pays the extra expense is a different issue.
Thank you.
You have the floor, Rep. Propst.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, Speaker. And that's the point that I was alluding to, because we are being told to respect the process. As Representative Tina Sablan has alluded to, this is the process. We're not dealing with silly rumors. We're not dealing with a bunch of picnic table banter or anything. These were documents that were submitted to each and every one of us, and we have a fiduciary duty to look at it and examine it and question it. And when I looked at the first class travel, that was something that I wondered. And like anybody else, any of you, I looked it up and found this. And it said, we cannot travel first class. It didn't say everyone except the governor and the first lady or anything. Basically every government employee, and we are government employees. We signed a NOPA, Notice of Personal Action. Some of our colleagues are retired and collecting their retirement. We get GHLI, right? There's no doubt that whether we say that, well, he's the governor, he gets to do it because he's the head of state, we're facing one of the toughest times in our history. We have our constituents living in tents who we visit, living in misery. I had to take a part-time job so that we wouldn't have our power cut off. You know how hard that is? Because I want to spend time with my family. I rarely travel because my budget goes back to the people or whatever it can't go to serve a public purpose. But these are questionable expenses, reimbursements, and travel that should not be accepted according not to our own interpretation of the law, but as our own counsel has just said. So if you feel honestly in your heart that we are not calling for an impeachment. There is a misunderstanding here. We are calling for a special committee to look at these documents and to talk about them and discuss them fairly, openly. That's what we're asking for. And we welcome our governor. Yes, he is innocent until proven guilty, and he is presumed innocent, and we do respect the process. But this is the process. We need to ask him about this. If we're going to say that we're just going to wait for the FBI to do their job and we're going to do nothing about it, then we're not really understanding why we're in this seat. We're not here to wait for the FBI. There's nothing in our Constitution that says wait for the FBI. This isn't even about the FBI. This is not a federal charge. This is a local matter. And when the AG is not willing to do anything, or anyone else, it's up to us. It's why we sit here. It's why we work for the people. Our loyalty is not to the governor. It's not to a party. It's not to each other. It's to the people who put us in this seat. That's all I have to say. And I respect and love each and every one of you. And I respect your opinions. But listen to what we are saying today. We're not here to condemn anyone. We are simply asking to look into these matters. And I do think about how sensitive this issue is because it's difficult for me. I struggle with it because of my friendships, my closeness to the family and their children. It's hard. But this is why we're here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep Propst. I know we're under the discussion of the House Communication 21-104 and kind of going beyond that right now, members. Further discussion on communications from the House. Floor Leader, for the last time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to clarify my statements that, and I doubt that any member here is turning a blind eye. This is an official document now on our order of business. It's considered public record. All I'm saying is that it was in my understanding that 3 weeks ago, OPA office had requested an Open Government Act. These invoices before us are under investigation. And to create a special investigation, having coming from law enforcement, we don't want to hamper an ongoing investigation. Whatever findings OPA may have, they will report it to the legislature. I recall months ago that the minority bloc had sent a letter to OPA. Maybe we want to hear from them. What is the result of that letter that they submitted to OPA for investigation? But I just don't feel that it's the rightful time, Mr. Speaker and members, to create a special investigation when an investigation is ongoing. And the rightful entity and the experts are OPA. This has to deal with financials. We ought to hear from them. So I just want to clarify my statement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Floor Leader. Rep Tina Sablan for the last round. Oh, sorry. Rep Lipon for the first round. Sorry, Rep Tina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Con rispetto para i membri siya Mr. Speaker, tada dumudda na isti resibo siya ni marisibi. Nista ipubliko matungo. O comprende i sentimento ni publiko na debit at tutun ni aksyon. Manunggi jo ni sistema zagwahas ta kotti. Ista gwaw umiinas ti. Baila jata tasang finamericano na ina ang ginundagoy unatso sinya puno dos paluma. Wis angin i-concern pot pata inquire sti sa jonya expenditure. Baila jata na ikotti di oportunidad. Zangin masoda nagwa kumbalat sin kutsino bidanya. Bismaila jatana software iuno ni paano ni pong create jau tinatija jangin magana makonvikta ni impeachment process nogi presenti ombi si abogado ni gumagwadya ito di gobernamento tia tsotsogi chichonya sa anananga irusutan ikotti tilelengnya ya bigado ni mapunta na tipotsogi chichonya no maila jatanay tempo ni porosarba hafa sinidanya sa toda na oficina mumbistitiga pago kutsinada siya ni masusesedi no maila jatanay loki tempusti siya na oficina espesyal di kotti ngan i-federal at sogi chichonya ngan i-opia tsotsogi chichonya no maila jatana isti siya oportunidad jo upresenta ki minota afa sineda niya pues ijen at tutun i-diretso ni patatsogwi tilele ko naman latsi i-membro siya afa masasangan Mr. Speaker tilele ko na latsi afa mapresenta ki minan isti na Rablin legislatura no maila jatanay tansa nay tansa jangin latsi bis golok ki bay sauno sa mga ni gobyerno na Lazio no gi presenti manonggi jo ni sistema unggan ita fine na naguma ibisinuta segundo ikotti mina tres no maila datatigi loki sistema no maila datafaisi ni abogado hafa interpretemo nisti Enay put the first class. Baladata check loki kwanto balinya first class. Sinya ta often na airline no ta facing ko parewa na presyo no dan pago. Ko pasi gobyerno. Didi ni paro ma-upgrade di first class. Ngan kay gigilay. Dati sinya man manggupo gi first class. Hafa jay aeroplano na mo upgrade gi. No unggan anong na ebidensya na mapasi gobyerno. No maila datanay chansa. Isustema. Tilele ko na ti preciso sti napataina. Unggan preciso. No presisunya pataungo gini ni koti sa ikoti. Tumitin memena natadza mas ki ikoti nilay. Usenwa, Mr. Speaker, si Jus Masi.
So just Masi, Representative Lipon. Any further discussion on the first round? None? All right, Rep. Tina Sablan for the last round.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just briefly to respond to our floor leader's statements, you inquired, Mr. Floor Leader, about the status of the letter that the minority had sent to OPA. Just to refresh everybody's memory, this was a letter that we sent asking OPA to review and provide guidance on the allowances that some legislators are availing pursuant to our rules. And we did get a response from OPA after they reviewed the records, they reviewed the laws, and they advised that those allowances are probably illegal and unconstitutional. And that advice was referred to the Committee on Rules. And so where that went since then, I'm not sure. We have also requested advice from the Attorney General, and he has yet to respond despite numerous follow-ups by myself and others since February. So that's the update on that inquiry. As for OPA submitting an Open Government Act request for the records that we are discussing today, I'm not aware of an Open Government Act request. OPA has the authority to go into any agency and pursue these documents, and it may very well be the case that these documents are in fact under investigation. But for the purposes of this body, our responsibility to do our own investigations and conduct our own inquiries, we have that authority. We have that power under the Constitution and under our rules. And what we are urging today, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, is that we enlist the expertise of the auditors at OPA. That we can't deal with the ones who are working on any criminal investigation, but we can work with their auditors and review the volume of documents that we are expecting to receive pursuant to our Open Government Act request. And we're only doing this through the OGA as a minority because there has been no committee that has yet exercised its authority to subpoena these records. We would welcome that. In fact, we urge that. It's why we're urging for a special committee to be appointed today, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Tina Sablan. Rep. Blanco for the first round.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With interest, I was listening to the arguments for the first class, business class, and whatnot. At this moment, the documents that I see floating around, I'm not sure whether those were paid for under local funds or they were paid for under federal funds. Because according to, if they were paid for under federal funds, and according to the U.S. General Services Administration, first class and business class are allowable under several circumstances. And if you can allow me to read them. Use of business class and first class is allowable if there's no codes class accommodations that are reasonably available. It's allowable if there exist exceptional security circumstances that require other than codes class airline accommodations. Use of the first class is required because of your agency mission. origin and or destination is Oconus. I don't know what that means, but I will continue. And the scheduled flight time, including stopovers and change of planes, is in excess of 14 hours, in accordance with FTR subsection 301-10.125. So we have to look at these documents carefully, members, if we are going to take that route. Were these paid for by federal funds or by local funds? If they were paid for by local funds, I would like to ask our legal counsel to look at that section again. Please, Elmo. Was it 7401F? Is that correct? 7407F. And I'll just refer to the first paragraph. The Commonwealth government shall not purchase or furnish for or reimburse to any employee. I'll stop right there. Any employee. Other sections of the Constitution refer to us as elected officials. Mr. Legal Counsel, to any employee. Are we employees of the CNMI government, or we're elected officials of the CNMI government? I ask that because that will be raised, I don't know, maybe in the court of law. So I know you already issued your opinion, but can you look at it in that light?
I would just have to check the statutory definition of employee, but I think if we further read, it says, or other person required to travel on behalf of the government. And that's where I stopped reading too. And
Right.
I don't think you guys are traveling on behalf of your personal capacities when you fly officially. So if you are an employee or not, if you continue to read, if you're traveling on behalf of the government, I think that allows you to travel only on economy unless you're footing the bill for the upgrade.
Right. A secretary or a director also travels on behalf of the government, correct? But anyhow, I wanted to bring that up to raise that issue because I think we need those things to be defined. And employees, does that refer to elected officials? Maybe perhaps this is not the place to do it, perhaps later on down the road. But I just want to raise those issues for consideration for both sides. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Blanco, and you're absolutely right. This is where we're still under House Communications, and we're getting deeper into other issues that are not related to the agenda or the specific communication. So with that being said, any further under House Communications? Ready?